Hey y'all, and welcome back to Joey's Booked. Today we are going to be starting a new reading vlog.
I wasn't ready. What?
Spider. Baby spider, no! I'm going to just awkwardly lean over into this camera right here. Lemon, I don't know, something about... Well, where am I throwing this? Why did I use the word procreate?
Weird floor angle.
So lately, I've just been wanting more and more to pick up some works that are in translation. I've been feeling myself kind of get in this reading slump, not necessarily because I've been reading anything bad, but I feel like I've picked up a good couple of longer books recently. Here soon I've got a trivia night coming up, and it's got me reading this 500-page book that's like a romantasy. If you know The Serpent at the Wings of Night, who would have ever thought I'd be reading that? But I wanted to do trivia. But anyways, it's not that it's necessarily terrible or anything, but it's just making me not want to read. So, I thought I would pick up some books in translation. For me, typically, books in translation normally read really quickly. And oftentimes, sometimes they're even shorter just for whatever reason, whether it's the difference between language or whatever else. And I've kind of had this idea for a while anyways. We have all of these months coming up, whether it's Asian and Pacific Islander Heritage. Right now is Arab Heritage Month. There's all these different things, and they lend really well to books in translation. And I'm not trying to necessarily do a vlog over every single Heritage Month or anything like that, because I feel like that could kind of get... It's important, but I feel like it could get boring quickly too and repetitive. So, instead of just saying, I'm going to hold off and do Asian Pacific Islander Month, but only read books from Japan or Korea or wherever else, I think I would like to kind of just mood read a little bit, but also pick some places from different areas of the world. I want to have a more global reading approach. Now, this year, one of my goals was to read more books in translation, and I do feel like I've been pretty successful with that. Out of the 30-something books I've read so far this year, I have read at least 6 that are translated, which is better than last year, because I think I only read 4 or 5 at most. And I feel like I've got a reasonable mix of where things are from, but I wanted to expand that. I want to do a little bit more and have my global reading approach. So what this is a very long-winded way of saying is this is going to be a vlog where I read books in translation. What I think I'm going to do is I've pulled probably not every book I own in translation, but the ones that I knew of off the top of my head. And a lot of these are books that I've really been wanting to get to for the most part. So I've got this giant stack of translated books. We have some more well-known ones, like Let the Right One In. We've got some newer releases like Pink Slime right here. And then we've just got a mix of novellas and shorter fiction and different genres. I think what I want to do, though, is I think I'm going to kind of read through them a little bit. Not necessarily the full synopsis or anything, but I might, try a chapter, something like that. I don't think some of these are so short, I don't necessarily want to read a whole chapter or rank it. Some of these don't even look like they have chapters. But I think I'm going to read through a little bit, and I think we're going to let this mood read us with some translated works. I'm going to look through the stack. I'm going to glance around and see if there's anything here I know of. Skim, maybe, first page or so, maybe get a quick kind of synopsis glance, and I will be back. just kind of like skim read the first couple pages of each of these. And they're all like sprawled out over here. I've tried to make some kind of TBR. I don't know. I think the two Korean ones may have been my strongest interest at the moment. This one, it was just a quick skim, but within the skim made me laugh out. Really funny, which is walking practice. Something about this also kind of grabbed my interest, and I did see that the audiobook is extremely short, like 3 hours. So I might just quickly read this in one sitting at some point. I've really wanted to get to Pink Slime, but the first page didn't quite grip me, but I can also get this one with some audio. So it might be a contender. And then the diving pools had my interest a little bit too, which I didn't realize this was 3 novellas within this, but you can see the font is quite big, which means it's probably going to read pretty quickly. So I don't know. I just need this off my TBR. It's short, I need to get rid of it, but God, this writing, every time I open this and try to read it, it's like not happening. 25 for 2025, but it's a chunker, and when I opened it, oh, I don't know, we'll see. This might be my, if I can get in the mood for it, because this is my only Swedish author, and I'm not really feeling, even though this one's been on my shelf for a long time, I'm not really feeling any of these right now. They were not clicking, so these are probably going to get pushed to the side, at least for now. I'm going to go back. We're going to hold off on both Kappa and let the right one in for now. I think I'm going to go back and pick one of these two, which I believe are both Korean. Whichever one I'll pick, I'll let you know where it's from, all of that. But I think these are my two. I'll check back in once I've finally decided on one of them, and we'll just kind of go from there. We are back for an update, and please excuse the mess that is my bedroom right now of what you can see. I think I've cut most of it out, but I literally just woke up from a nap and was like, I have got to update. So last night I did finally pick a book for this translation one, and I was between two. This one interested me more, but Lemina had the audiobook from like Libby, and it was like a 3-hour audiobook. It was supposed to be a 3-hour audiobook. Let me tell you, it took me all night. But I did read this pretty much in one go, and I think I'm going to land on a 2-star from this. Now, this is a really short kind of novella, translated from Korean. It's kind of hard to describe. Not because it's a difficult to understand concept, but because it's a difficult to understand book. We are following what was known as the high school beauty murder in Korea, and pretty much when it opens up, we are seeing this like young kid be interrogated by the cops, and he is like a delivery driver, kind of. He like rides like a scooter around and delivers whatever, chickens or something, I think is what he was delivering in this. And he is being accused of the murder of a girl, a young girl that is like, I don't know, I think it was hard to tell with the age, because the way they talked, I thought at the beginning they said that they were like 10 years old, but then they kept talking like they were in high school, and I don't remember exactly where it was at, but like, you know, they're like teenagers. But he's accused of killing this girl, and it's starting off, and it's like this whole like police detective interrogation. And I will give it on the back of the synopsis that I looked at after. It does state that like this is not a police interrogation story, so don't fully expect that. But then we get these multiple POVs over the course of time after this girl is murdered, from either her sister or some other classmates of hers, or I think there were just some other like acquaintances or people involved in the investigation, like her age-wise, like people who were like being like suspects, stuff like that. And one, you never given a straight answer for who did it, which, if that's a spoiler, sorry, this is not long enough of a book. But also, like, it's exploring, like, what these people have gone through and dealt with at different points in their lives because this girl was murdered. And, like, that sounds like it should be right up my alley, like, exploring either grief or trauma or whatever else. But it was done in such a confusing way with the way these points of views would jump. And I think the thing that got me the most is, like, they would be interrogating someone or someone else would be questioning someone. It wasn't even necessarily like a detective. And it would be, they would like say all of this stuff in a ramble and then all of a sudden be like, get a question on, oh, did you say this? And they're like, what are you talking about? I never said that. And it would be like so back and forth and like them badly covering things up. And even as adults, like it didn't fully make sense. And then there were these perspectives where it was like some girl talking to her therapist, and like I understand you're supposed to be making like your own theories, but like it felt so uncohesive in the way that it was put together that it pulled me out. So I don't know. I didn't like the structure of it. I wasn't really invested in it anyways. I think had it either been a detective story or had we just been following these people dealing with it in a more clear way, then yeah, I think either of those could have worked, but I didn't like the way that it was put together. And I felt like for a 3 hour audiobook, it just drug on. And I swear I did not read this even in like 3 hours, even though I was listening on it on like 2 times speed. But I mean, I followed along too, which I mean, at least helped some, but I don't know. I wasn't like crazy about it. It wasn't life changing. It was like a $3 used book though, or like a $2 used book in my case. So for cheap book, whatever. It looked interesting at the time. But that is one book down in this vlog. When I started this, I really wanted to highlight translations from different areas of the world. But then I picked up the Lemon book, and then I still kind of want to read Walking Practice, which is also Korean, so we'll see what happens there. But I think I've already decided on my next read, and I am super excited about it. So yesterday I had to run an errand across town after work in Nashville, and I stopped at a bookstore that I don't go to very often, and just to like walk around because I was like 3 minutes down the road or something, and traffic was going to be really bad, so I was killing time. And I walk in, and the first thing that I see is what is probably my most anticipated book of the year, on sale a week before publication date, which I know a lot of books keep being put out in bookshops lately. I see it all over the place. But I went and like canceled my pre-order because this is a book in translation. And I don't know the last time I've bought a book and just instantly read it. And there is something always so exciting when you pick up a book you really want to read and you just read it in the moment. So next, I think I'm going to read that book, which is Vanishing World by Sayaka Murata. I am so excited for this. I don't know a lot, but if you've followed my channel for the last almost a year now, it's no hidden secret how much I love Sayaka Murata's, especially the book Earthlings, which is just like probably my all-time favorite book at this point. There's something so weird and strange about it, but Murata also just writes in a way that talks about people and what's it like to be human and just the nature of that in so many great ways. I've loved to some degree everything of hers that she's written, even if I haven't rated it the highest. Convenience Store Woman, I think may have been 3 stars, but looking back it's probably more of a 4. Life Ceremony was a great short story collection, but it was a short story collection, so there were some things I love more than others. In Vanishing World, I think the only thing I know is this is set, I think, in like a near future kind of dystopian type thing. We are in a world where like children can't be born naturally anymore and everything is done artificially or something along the lines of that. I don't know if they can't be or just people aren't having children the traditional way, for lack of a better word. Children aren't being born through traditional methods. Artificial insemination or whatever I think has become the norm. That is all I know from the little like tiny top blurb here. I haven't actually read the synopsis. I just saw Sayaka Murata and I bought it, and I'm gonna read it now and then I'll actually tell you what's happening. I know I can be kind of monotone, but I am so freaking excited about this. And yeah, will I check in halfway through or will I just binge the entire book? This is not an update, but I just got so excited because I've been trying to figure out this whole time what the crap this cover was about, and as soon as I stopped filming, I realized it's a bunch of little babies in the shape of a heart in a petri dish. What a cover choice, even for this kind of story. The petri dish also kind of looks like a condom, but that's besides the point. Anyways, okay, bye. So I have finally reached about 50% of the way through Vanishing World. I wish that I'd been like recording myself reading this because there is something about Sayaka Murata's writing that just gets visceral reactions out of me. And I am obsessed with this in the weirdest way possible. I was going to try to update. It's broken into 3 parts. And I wanted to try to update around part 1, like where it ends. But I couldn't really figure out how to talk about what I was reading. So, I'm about a little over halfway through part 2. I'm getting pretty close to the end of it, I'm pretty sure. And I figured I don't have it in me to push through tonight. So I thought, like, let's just go ahead and update, because if not, I'm going to finish this probably tomorrow. So, in Vanishing World, we are following Aname, kind of as, like, she goes through life. So we start with her, like, really young, as, like, an elementary schooler, and it kind of follows up into, like, her adulthood. But Aname lives in this world where, like, people don't have sex to reproduce. They don't do it the traditional old way. And instead, everything is, like, artificial insemination. But there are people who, like, I guess recreationally have sex, but, like, they describe it as love or, like, having a lover. And it's so weird. Basically, when this starts, we're following Aname as, like, a little girl, and she finds out that she wasn't artificially inseminated to be born. Like, her parents had it, like, the natural way, or had her the natural way. And once she starts, like, her mother starts telling her, like, yeah, like, we did it the real way, and we did it all of this, and I guess she lets it slip at some point, and someone's like, that's really weird. What do you mean? That, like, no one does that anymore. And as she's growing up, it's kind of her finding herself and where she fits in the world. Like, how do you fit within society and conform, but also not? So, like, you know, she's freely exploring herself in ways that other people around her aren't. And as she gets older, like just hardly anyone sleeps together at all. Like, it's not a thing. And she's, like, one of, like, really the few adults by the time she's, like, in her 30s that is still, like, having, like, physical lovers and things like that. But a lot of people are also, like, romantically involving their feelings in, like, these characters. So in this case, a lot of times it's, like, TV characters or anime characters. They're fictional. And, like, that's where they're putting a lot of those feelings. And it's making, like, lots of commentary on, like, love versus lust, but it's kind of combining them into one thing. So there are people who do still have like the lusty feelings, and it's exploring like in a society to where like it's just not normal for people to do. What does it look like when that's on the outside? Because a lot of today in or like there's a lot of sex positivity and stuff in our society today, and it seems like it's really reflecting on that. And then there's like the whole like people like that are married, like they don't sleep together. That is considered taboo. Like that's not what you do. That is considered part of your family. That's no different than any other family member. So like people have like lovers on the side or boyfriends and girlfriends even, whether they're real or fictional, and depending on like someone's preferences and how they like maneuver that and how they separate love from their family and how they look at love, which is really just lust. And it's such a weird topic in the way that it's being discussed, and it's so strange. So like anytime like Aname does like physically have lovers, and almost every time like she is having to teach them how it works, but it's in the most awkward way possible. Like it is cringier than some of the smuttiest smut. Not that I read a lot of smut, but I know enough to know it's not for me. And like it's like so just awkward. Like her having to explain to like a 30-year-old man how this works in the most like ritualistic way. So like like I'm not awkward because of like the content matter, but it's just so weird. Like I don't really fully know how to discuss this, but I don't know. Like there's just so much being explored in such a simplistic way, but Murata's writing is just so strange at times. Like I don't even know. Oh, okay. So like even in this like they're talking about like the family system and how because like no one is in relationships anymore and no one is having like physical relationships anymore, like the family system is starting to like dwindle. And it's like the so-called family system was still used when it served a purpose in life, but not when it was needed. This was becoming the normal way about feeling about the system. Like based on what I saw around me, I had the impression that the percentage of people getting married was steadily decreasing. I had heard it reported on the news the other day that only 35% of people in their 30s were now married. So, like, it's this artificial insemination is just affecting the whole way people's relationships are and how they interact with each other. So like it's just such an interesting exploration, and like where I'm getting into the book, like enough time has passed and there's like been so many more developments. Aname is talking with her friends and stuff, and like the section I just recently read, and they're like, what is even the point of a marriage? Is it just a companion? Because like Aname and her husband, they might have like intimate moments where they like maybe cuddle on a couch or they cook together, and like they've become really good friends even though it was originally like a marriage of convenience. Because as of right now, women are all that can conceive, even though they're apparently working on like male conceiving. But like, anyways, her and her friends are talking or whatever, and it's just like, what's even the point of being married, or what's the point of having a husband, and what is this new world doing to the family system? Like, are families even like going to go obsolete because of some other things that are happening in the book that you learn about as it goes on? And it's I don't know, it's such a weird dystopian way at just looking at what is family, what is love, what is lust, where do these things fit together, and what if you tried to separate it all out? So like there's just I don't know, there's a lot packed in for me only being like 119 pages into this book. um but that's just what Murata does. She looks at humanity in a way like no other author I think I've read, but it's very raw and it's very unconventional. And it just works. So I don't want to speak too soon, but depending on how the last half of this book goes, this could very potentially be a 5-star for me. I don't think it's going to be a 5-star for most people. Where I'm at right now, I think there are people that are going to absolutely hate it, and they're going to think it's either gratuitous or whatever, even though gratuitous in a weird way. And then there's going to be people who just don't get it or don't vibe with it because Murata has such a weird writing style. But for me, it is working. I am loving the commentary the more I get into it, even though I'm having a really hard time breaking it down in, like, more specifics. But not only could this be a 5-star, this may be bumping up to in my best of the year, if not one of my best, as long as it sticks the landing at the end. So tonight I am going to go to bed because I've got work and it's getting late and it's taken me a while to get focused on it when I start reading. But I haven't read something just physically well, no, that's a lie. One of my last 5-star I read completely physically, and that was The Unworthy. But I don't read a whole lot without the audio anymore, so it takes me a little bit to get into it, to start reading, just because focus. Anyways, tomorrow, hopefully, I do have Friday Night with Tabitha, so I don't know how much I'll get read, but if I don't finish it tomorrow, I'm going to finish it Saturday, and then I'm going to try to fit at least one more book into this vlog, because I really am, even though Lemon wasn't that great, I'm really enjoying just how Translate It works, and this has me excited to keep reading. So, I'll let you know when I'm done. It's done, and I couldn't wait to update. I'm sorry, I'm looking for words. This is going to be 5 stars. I'm super speechless right now. I haven't felt this way about a book in probably a year or more, as far as just, I wasn't ready for that ending, and it's not even that it was, like, overly twisty or over anything, but it just clicked with me. I was so back and forth reading this on, is this going to be like a 4-star, a 5-star? It's a 5-star. What just happened? If you have read Earthlings, or really anything by Murata, and you like her weird and sometimes even rambling kind of takes on conformity and just the world, this would work for you. If you didn't like Earthlings, then I wouldn't recommend it. It kind of feels like a culmination of Convenience Store Woman, Earthlings, and some of the stories from Life Ceremony, just all kind of crammed together in the weirdest way, because it wasn't as, like, out there in far, or, like, as far of, like, I don't know, it was out there, though. Like, I don't know, there was a normality to it, but then there was also this weird dystopianness to it. And then just the state of our, like, main character, like, as it progressed, that just got more and more out of control. Kind of like how in Earthlings it just progressed and progressed and progressed. But then there were so many of the conversations from things like Convenience Store Woman on just normalcy and going with the society, but, like, flipped in a completely different direction. And then you mix some of the weird things, like I think of the story in Life Ceremony, I don't remember the name, but, like, where it was, like, people being turned into furniture, which isn't what's happening in this, but, like, people die and, like, experimenting on people and things, and it took all of that weird stuff, and it just worked for me. I don't think this is gonna be a favorite Murata for everyone. I don't think I see a lot of people giving this 5 stars once it starts making its rounds. I loved it, and I don't understand why, outside of the fact that it's Murata and there's something in her writing that just clicks with me. Vanishing World, it, like, didn't have a sad ending. It didn't have a ending to make me upset, but I cried a little. And I think it was just the crying of the feeling that I was getting of just reading another crazy Murata story and it coming to an end. And now I'm realizing right now I'm gonna have to probably wait a long time to get anything else from this author. Yeah, I'm not even talking about hardly what this book is about right now. I mentioned it in my last update, like, it's a lot on sex and lust and love and what does that mean and what is it when, as a society, lust and love are seen as the same thing and as like a taboo almost thing. And as this book continues on, it really starts to see what would it be like in a world if we started to take those things away completely, and what effects would that have on the ideas of love, on the ideas of family, on the ideas of what is it to be a person. You know, does that make us human? It talks about children towards the end. We start to look more at, because the whole thing's about artificial insemination, or like what that has done to the world, and like it starts to look at, okay, what would it look like if we completely took the family out and raised children as a community versus individuals, and what would that look like, and like how much would it the conformity of it affect us, and what is it like when we're thrown into these situations with the world. Where's my phone? Like, there were so many like quotes from this on those subjects that just stood out for me. Like, I never read a book unless I'm specifically looking for quotes and just type them out. But let me see. I think there was one quote that really stood out to me where it just said, "Normality is the creepiest madness there is." And it goes on into even more into this quote, but like, it's maddening trying to fit society's expectations of what anyone should be, let alone in a story like this where we're really looking at motherhood and women and what does society expect that to be, and just trying to meet the expectations when you don't fit that, and how when you keep making yourself have to fit that, it makes you go insane. Like, you know, it says, another one, we humans were always changing. Whichever world we were brainwashed by, we didn't have the right to judge others based on the ideas we had been inculcated with. And it's like, at what point is anything normal? At what point, is there not some form of you're always trying to conform and you're always trying to fit in this box, and you're just trying to do what will get you to be viewed as normal from others? And as someone who's always seen themselves as a very abnormal person, like, putting into that context, and it's it's something I think on a lot, I guess, is I don't feel like I always, like, even though I kind of come off dry and stuff, like, in my head, I don't come off as what society expects me to be. And, like, I don't know. Like, I feel like all the time I'm meant to be a certain way. I'm meant to be, this certain type of adult. I'm going into my 30s. So, like, all of that kind of stuff is starting to hit about, like, all the things I never thought I'd feel about turning 30. Like, I'm starting to notice those things, and, like, like, place in the world, and am I where I want it to be by this point in life, and how does society view me where I actually am, and thinking about that, like, why are we judging people, and why are we expecting people to fit into this box at any point in time? You know, earlier in the book, the idea of the idea of rightness really is an illusion. Pursuing it is a waste of time. Like, why are we trying so hard as people to fit this specific mold? And it's, I don't know, these are like late night thoughts. It's like, I don't know, it's probably 10 o'clock right now, which I know isn't that late, but this is when I normally go to bed on a work night, even though it's the weekend. So, like, my brain is in late night thought mode. But, like, I don't know. There's so much crammed into this. I did not think it was going to be what it was. That ending, I'm just still, like, there's parts that, like, I'm not surprised about by the ending, but the moment in which it happened I was not prepared for. It gave me one of those Earthling endings where everything just suddenly flips to, like, not where I was expecting a scene to go. Or even, like, reading, like, the last page of something like Tender as the Flesh, where it's like, wait, what? It just had one of those endings for me, and I don't know, like, it wasn't as big as and impactful as either of those, but it just worked for me. And I don't know, I love this book. This is a new favorite. I think at this point, like, this is 2 5-stars now for sure. I've given Murata, and I've definitely considered bumping up some others, and I guarantee they'd be closer to 5 stars on a reread, if not at least a 4. Like, she's a favorite author. She's more than a favorite author at this point. She's like an all-time favorite. I knew she had another 5-star for me. I think Life Ceremony was in my first third time try video. So, like, I knew she had something. I loved it. This was so good for me. It's not going to be for everyone. Definitely be careful picking this up. You know, if you have any, like, triggers or anything with the idea of, one, consent, triggers with motherhood, triggers with trauma. So anyways, tonight I'm not doing anything else because my brain could not comprehend it. I'm just going to wind down for the night. This was not the way I thought this conclusion was going to go. I'm still wrapping my head around. I wish I would have vlogged that for you. I wish you could have seen my live reaction, and I was feeling grungy and like I didn't want to be on camera, so I didn't do it, and I just didn't think it was going to be that shocking of an ending. So I'm going to try to fit one more book into this. Tomorrow's Sunday. I don't have a whole lot I got to do, because today I got haircut, I got groceries and all, and cleaning and all of that done today. So, and I'm already caught up on any schoolwork I would need to do, I think. So, yeah, I'm going to try to pick something else. We've got Korea from Lemon represented, and we've represented translated work from Japan. I'm going to try to, I'm going to try to pick one of these books translated from Spanish, even though they're from quite a few different places. I don't know if anyone's going to know what I mean, or if it's going to sound weird, but when I read translated work, sometimes there's just a general tone depending on what language it's been translated from, I've started to notice. I don't know if it's like how different language systems work or what, but like when I read something translated from like Japanese or Korean, like there's like a specific easiness usually to the reading style, and it's not always like uniform, but like I don't know, there's like an easiness to the translation, and like it makes it feel like I can fly through it in the writing sometimes. Not necessarily simpler because it can be detailed, but like not as dense. But like, you know, even then, like it's still not consistent because like I will say Lemon was a little bit more dense for a translated work for me. But like when I've read something translated from from Spanish, it feels really dense sometimes, and there's always like the specific tone that it has. Earlier I did, when I was doing things, because I didn't have Vanishing World's audio since it hasn't technically released for another couple days, I did try to pick up Pink Slime, because this was one I was really, really excited about and I've been wanting to read, even though I've fully forgotten what it's actually about. And I'm going to give it one more try, but I think it's going to be a small DNF because I only got a couple pages in, or like a few minutes into the audio. And it was doing that thing that I see in Spanish literature sometimes, where there's just, I don't know, there's just this tone to it that is different than when I read other things. And I don't know if it's a denseness, if that's the right word, or what it is. But, like, I get this tone when I've read from, like, Agustina Bastarrica, who I love. Agustina Bastarrica is Argentinian. Mariana Enriquez has a similar, especially from, like, you know, Latin, Central, South America. There's this tone that I've noticed. I love Agustina Bastarrica. I like Mariana Enriquez. Even from some other, like, Hispanic authors, though, I've noticed, or Latinx authors, that sometimes that tone, even if it's written originally in English, carries over. Because I got that tone when I read Silvia Moreno Garcia's in Mexican Gothic. I haven't read them yet, but I have read, like, the first couple pages on some tri-chapter things. And I get that feeling from Isabella Cañas with, like, the Hacienda. So, like, I don't know. I don't know if that tone's gonna be something I feel right now. And I've got another vlog I've got to record here soon. So, like, I'm starting to get on time schedule. I think I'll give it a try in tandem. And if I'm not feeling Pink Slime, we may abandon the idea of making sure everything's from a different place and just pick whatever's easiest and translate it in the moment. Because originally I wanted to fit more books into this vlog than I just have time to. So, once I finally decide what I'm going for, whether it's Pink Slime or something else, I will get back with you, and hopefully, if I haven't finished whatever I'm reading next, I'll at least have an update. So I'll see you here soon. Alright, I don't know if I ever decided on what I was going to read for my last book, but I did try to go ahead and listen to Pink Slime and read along, and I just was not feeling it still, even with audio. So I decided, let's just go ahead and pick up Walking Practice by Dolki Min. And this was much more in line with what I was in the mood for. I really was just feeling the tone of this book, and this is a strange little book. This is translated from Korean, so did end up reading 2 Korean books, but whatever, at this point, it's gonna be what it is. I still achieved the goal of reading books in translation, and this is my video, so we're just gonna kind of change the rules of what I want it to do. How do you even talk about this book? In this, we are following an alien who eats people, but is also contemplating on, like, human life. They are stranded on Earth after escaping their home planet, and meat is all that really satisfies their hunger and all they can really properly digest and keep them fueled. But they're also just exploring what is humanity and looking at it from the eyes of an outsider and how humans act and behave. The commentary in this was really, really good. There is so much talk on gender and, you know, like how we perceive gender as people, and whether it's masculine versus feminine, or how society treats men versus women, especially in this case in, like, Korean society. And then there's also a lot of commentary on, like, hookup culture because of the nature of how our alien narrator hunts. But then there's talks on love and loneliness and what it's like to feel alienated, and a lot of this really kind of juxtaposes, is that the word there I'm looking for? You know, a lot of it reflects almost like what's in, like, the queer community, and there's almost like a queerness to it, even though it's not necessarily just that. It is brought up, and we're following a couple different, like, jobs, I guess, almost is how they would say it, and meetings, I think is what they called it. They called it meetings, and just how, like, different interactions within those, and how this creature just explores who they are now, and they're in the position they are, but also who people are. And I don't know, the commentary was really good. It took me like 3 days to read this little tiny book though, because I couldn't stop laughing every time I picked it up, because the narrator breaks the fourth wall and is talking to you as the reader, and it's just really funny. So yeah, there's all this serious conversation, but just the way that they talk to people cracked me up. I could not move past it. So every now and then something would happen and it would just take me out, not because it was bad, but because I was laughing and I was having a good time. So it's definitely like really weird, and it might not be for everyone, but it worked, because when there was some gory stuff, sometimes it got gory. Like, there was that horror element to it. My biggest problem would probably just be the repetitive nature of the story, and I wanted some more differentiation. If it's this short, it's great that, like, we have our goal of what we're doing, but I want it a little bit more to happen differently. And it wasn't such a big thing that it like really, really hurt it. And then by the time we get to the ending, I want it more from the ending. I want there to be more exploration of why the book ends the way that it does, instead of it just being supposed to be like some kind of a shocking kind of happening. I want it more from it. And because of that, I think I'm going to land on a 4.5 for this. I was anywhere between a 4 to a 5 the whole time I was reading it, because it's just such a good time and because it has good commentary. But 4.5 stars, I think, just feels right. And it kind of sucks, because upon reflection, I could change it. But we're calling it 4.5 for now. Weirder than I call that a vlog. This vlog, for 3 books, this small, has taken me for absolute ever to read. Like, it's been almost a week, I think, because, I don't know, I'm proud of myself because 2 of these I read completely physically, and I have not been doing that much lately with books. What is it? Vanishing World, I read completely physically as well. It took me like 4 days, even though it's only like 200 and something pages. I think I just haven't been exercising those muscles enough where I've been listening and reading in tandem when I do read physically. But I do think this vlog was really successful. We did have Lemon, which was a 2-star, unfortunately. It just didn't fully work. But, and we're going out of order here because we're going by size of book. We did redeem the Korean novels with a 4.5 from Walking Practice. And we got our 3rd 5-star of 2025, and what is questionably my favorite book of the year so far. It's definitely in the top 2 with The Unworthy, which was also translated, but we are giving it a 5-star to Vanishing World, and giving Japan a big win there. Sadly, I did not read near as many books as I wanted to for it, but I'm going to call 4.5 and a 5-star a success. If you have made it all the way to the end of this video, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. It would really just help out with the channel. I'm thinking about maybe in the future possibly doing another vlog. Maybe I'll read only from Spanish translations, since there were so many books on that list that were from different countries that speak Spanish, whether it was Latin America or Spain itself. So maybe let me know if a Spanish translated vlog specifically is something you'd be interested in. If not, also maybe let me know down below, what is your favorite translated work or author, or do you have any recommendations? I'm always looking for more authors to read in translation, and I'd love to hear maybe some of your recommendations. Thank you again for sticking around. I hope to see you very soon in another video. You're probably gonna, if you do catch my next video, depending on what order all of this gets edited in, I might be in this exact same spot because I'm about to film the intro. So, with all of that said, I'll see you later.